this couldn't happen again. This is that one.
Well, the main question is, how did the internet actually start? Well, its origins can be traced back to 1945, when a group of 12 countries came together to start investigating the atoms and their science. The problem? Well, they built different devices and softwares, and the organization process was very messy. This was during the Cold War in America, where to be able to have the best atomic bomb and nuclear weapon, they needed to find a network that would facilitate their communication. Then, in the 1960s, a movement started with the hippie culture. It was called the Libertarian Movement. They believed in self-liberty, rejected state and censorship. And even though such movement quickly died in the physical world, they found their home in the internet. At this time, only military and the major universities were connected through the internet, but the libertarians found their home in the early stages of the web and popularized its use. Combined with this came that during the 1970s and the 80s, not only had computers begun to become cheaper, but Sir Tim Berners-Lee created what is known today as the World Wide Web. It started as a motion to help organize information that was ongoing in the program that we mentioned before, but quickly became home to many other unrelated sites. It was the first time you could find a website with hyperlinks without having to exactly know where the information was being stored, and people took advantage of that. The World Wide Web was a perfect opportunity for people to create a common language to be able to share their information in the world. In 1995, the first social media appeared, the Well. It consisted of forums that people could use to talk, express, and escape their reality. It allowed for a free passage of information. That was the first time such a thing had been done. The Cyberspace Constitution, written by Lawrence Lessig, stated that if information was set free, people could be free. Control the information, and you can easily control the people. The internet was a revolution against hierarchy. Examples of such were all over the world, where the media or the government were not giving out the actual information, and the internet helped citizens tell the story. China, with the earthquake of Sichuan, and the Kenya election disputes are some of the examples. The landscape in the 1990s was a very different one from now, as there were not so many users or people who were interested in it. For instance, Web Commerce Junction was only lifted by the US Congress in 1994. This was an amazing chance for businesses as they could expand and increase their domains, and created businesses as for example Pizza Hut with PizzaNet, which allowed you to make your pizza orders online, or Amazon, defeating the main issue with traditional bookstores and providing an infinite selection of books. Then came Google, created by two Stanford students. Its initial goal was to keep apart good and useful websites. They were the first to, rather than use linear thinking, introduce associative thinking. Then this business started to flourish and grow and prompted others to do the same. And then in the period from 1995 to 2000, about 20 million new web names were registered. But in the 2000s, there was a financial carnage, and about $3.5 million in paper were lost as people did not realize that to be successful online, they needed to rethink their business and not just put it traditionally. The internet was a vast territory filled with opportunities, but it needed innovative people that would be able to ride the wave rather than just sticking to what was known to them. The media landscape in the 1990s was a very different one from how it is now. At the start, it was only for academic reasons and began as a free of legislation space. It began as an idealistic free access to information kind of place, until entrepreneurs and businesses saw that they could obtain great profit from it, and thus advertising companies, Amazon, and many others started to build their empire inside it. Thus, the media landscape in 1990s was just the beginning and the foundation for what would lead in the 2000s. It was a free, utopian, and innovative space filled with what society called social misfits.
It's fair to say that the internet has gone through quite drastic changes in comparison to how it was before the 90s. At the moment, 48% of the world is connected to the internet, which is an average of 3.6 billion users. But what do these people use the internet for? How do we connect with it and use it for our benefit? Online shopping has become a vast industry over the past years. In 2019, an average of $3 trillion was spent on e-commerce, with Amazon studying that its prime customers spend around $1,400 per year, with its normal users spending around $600. Taking into account that there are 197 million Amazon users, we can say that this is more than the entire population of Russia, and it will definitely increase over the years to come, since platforms like PayPal, a secure way to pay online, are getting bigger, and people are getting more comfortable with the idea. Amazon is one of the various companies that have made it to the small group of powers that make up the oligarchy of the internet at the moment. The World Wide Web had started out with the benefit of allowing everyone to be visible and heard, able to express themselves and dodge the consequences of real life and higher charges. Nowadays, censorship is still difficult since there are many other routes that people can take to go around the enforced moderation. Big companies still struggle to adapt to the rapidly changing nature of the internet. However, capitalism has bled through into the web too. The ones with the most resources will be more powerful than normal citizens. You can now be penalized on places like social media or internet forums. You can now only describe yourself with 2 options of gender, or 3 for your romantic status. Ads and propaganda are spread around the place and can serve to brainwash people to attend specific political beliefs or groups. People are being squeezed for their money, with many companies trying to take profit out of the initially non-profitable organization that the web was. Not only are the people the customers, but the other products too. This is verified by the use of advertisers and the way that our information is sold out to them. The internet nowadays is encouraging the consumerist society, which can become quite dangerous in the future. The famous no-control characteristic of the internet can turn out to be a real problem though. With the ability of escaping vigilance, negative forces can communicate between each other. For example, terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda or the Taliban. Another example is the talent issue, which had made everyone suspicious about the power that the internet was going to have. However, in some other cases, information can be leaked to show to the world the injustices made by higher charges that had been hidden from the public until now. It is essential to point out that the internet brings people closer. It gives us a louder voice if we get together, and we can truly make change. As for today, there are 330 million Twitter users, 1 billion Instagram users, and 2.6 billion Facebook users. The way information was spread about the Iran crisis through the internet at its time really marked the beginning of an era of globalization between the people. We can communicate with everyone around the globe, sharing information that the traditional media doesn't choose to show. Every individual has a voice, and although sometimes it can go unheard, the new generations are working to come together as one. We are able to forge relationships, romantically or platonically, with each other, as well as working as a team to defeat or bring up cases that we think are important. An example of such nowadays is the Black Lives Matter movement. With millions of dollars being raised across the globe, and people speaking up, informing others, and posting content that had been hidden from us until now, we have been proved that the power of social media and the internet is indeed massive. The young people are becoming highly dependent on the internet. We connect with friends and family, and we become part of groups or societies. We find our identity, or we help others do the same. Sharing our work with the public has revolutionized industries such as the movie or the music one. Platforms like YouTube or SoundCloud allowed for people to post videos or music from anywhere around the globe. These websites have grown extremely popular since their creation. There are 2 billion YouTube users worldwide and 272 million registered in SoundCloud. We use platforms like YouTube not only to post entertaining content, but since highly viewed videos produce revenue, big companies thrive off of the money created off the music videos, for example, while others post videos with solidarity purposes. Famous YouTubers can get sponsorships, which is another example on how advertisers are constantly trying to catch our attentions any way they can. Furthermore, platforms like Netflix defy the traditional movie theater customs, and Spotify is hijacking traditions of mass physical album sales. We can now listen to music that we have never heard of, from different countries or different languages, which brings diversity to the industry. On the other hand, the piracy system is increasing. Illegal movie streaming sites are constantly taken down, but other links soon rise up, and this is the same with music. 38% of people still illegally download music. An average of $38 billion revenue has been lost due to piracy. In conclusion, the internet nowadays has become extremely powerful, giving the people a voice, but also going back to the roots of capitalism and censorship. The younger generations have been immersed in the internet since their young years, and they have become accustomed to the idea of vigilance and the possibility that their actions can have on the longer term. The internet now poses many threats to public safety and national economy. However, it is impossible to be stopped, and it will keep growing over the pass of time.